everyone. Welcome to another pre-show compo here at our pre-show table here at Lovebyte. Compos are about to start the 256 byte old school category. I have with me two very experienced seniors on this platform, Super Rogue and Gasman. Super Rogue started back in the 90s. He was retired for a few years. He came back in 2019, been doing a lot of size coding stuff both on DOS and Spectrum, so he knows a little bit about both platforms. And Gasman is a Spectrum specialist. He's been on the demo scene since 95, doing shit tons of different releases, some more bite-sized code than others. So let's get this show on the road. What can you tell us about this category and or what makes this category appealing to you? Super Rogue, I'll start with you.
I'm interested in all kinds of classic platforms. So, my size coding stuff is mostly on DOS right now, but I own a ton of classic systems, 8 and 16-bit. So I'm always interested to see what size coding productions can be done on them. So I actually have love for all. So I'm looking forward to see what this compo has.
Gasman, what about you?
Yeah, I think 256 is it's a really interesting category for me. I think it's kind of one that's close to my heart because in the in sort of early mid 2000s there was raw.org, the demo party. It's kind of little UK gathering in Ichabod's front room, and the 256 bytes was kind of the sort of unique category in there, and it was always really good fun to put that together. And I think it's the first category where you can really sort of execute a big idea and not sort of have to sort of dial it back because you hit the limit too early. I think you do have a chance to actually sort of get through to the end of what you were trying to achieve. So it's
Yeah, we were talking about that, like it's very hard to have both sound and graphics or proper sound, and in 253 bytes you sort of have some room to maneuver, but this category in particular is for the old school platform. So how much can we expand on the category for using the old school categories as compared to high end? I guess this question is more for you, Super Rogue.
Yeah, I think with 256 bytes, they start to diverge a bit because on DOS, you don't have to deal with any header stuff for one. For example, if you have Atari stuff or Commodore, you have to deal with a header, first of all. And you have a bit more CPU power to work with. So you can do multiplications, divisions, and just spam the processor a bit and do some...
we do have some special rules regarding header stuff. Do you want to mention that?
Yeah, sure. So for the 128 and 256 byte compos, we calculate the binary. So that means this includes the header. So if you have a platform that has a 32 byte header, you have to deduct that from the final size. So you actually only have 96 bytes. For example, for 128, you have 32 bytes header. You have less bytes to work with. And between platforms, there are different sizes. They range between 6 and 32 bytes. So for old school platforms, that's so that's a bit of a problem. And then for 64 bytes and 32 bytes, we don't calculate the header. So you can do like a 32 byte effect, and then we add the header later. So there's less of a problem. And I do think that the smaller the size category is, the more the different platforms come together. But for 256 bytes, I think there is a difference between a DOS or an ARM entry and something for ZX Spectrum and Atari.
Okay. Gasman, do you agree?
Yeah, I suppose the key difference between DOS and the old school platforms is with the old school, and especially the C64, I suppose you're kind of more reliant on the kind of special purpose hardware, like on C64 that might be sprites, on the Spectrum that's the AY sound chip, and I suppose there's any devices like that, there will be sort of overheads in sort of using in sort of accessing them. And I know with audio and the Spectrum, it's like to get sort of get just the initialization in place, that does take up quite a lot of bytes. So the 256 bytes is probably where the ability to exploit those bits of custom hardware really starts to come in.
So what can we expect from this platform? And do you guys expect something from specific platforms? Gasman, I guess I'll start with you this time.
Oh yeah, so I think probably the audio is the big thing on at least for as far as the Spectrum goes. I think this is where you can start being a bit more adventurous, and I think this is where you can also start getting sort of probably design, I suppose you'd call it, design concepts, rather than it being sort of completely constrained by I have to get something on screen in this size limit. So you can sort of get to use a bit of creativity there, and just maybe some sort of narrative. So
okay, Supro.
I think we get a lot of different and variety of platforms and people competing. So I'm curious to see what's on the Spectrum, what's on the Atari 8-bit. So I'm just hoping for like a varied amount of entries that are of good quality, probably with sound, yes, but also to see some maybe new effects or new takes on things.
A question that we had here was if you guys have any opinion on 16-bit platforms like Atari ST or Amiga regarding this. Can they take special advantage of this size restriction?
Yeah, I think the 256 bytes is where the 16-bit platforms can compete maybe a bit better, because there's a little bit more setup code, and again, the header size is quite significant on something like an Atari or an Amiga. So if you do 128, it's kind of tight, and then you have little space left to do your effect. And I think with 256, there's some room to maybe make use of the 16-bit processor and the extra multiplications and stuff that you can do on them.
Okay. Gasman, do you agree? Have anything to add?
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. The sort of 16 bits is kind of my blind spot in the scene, really. I went from the Spectrum directly to PC, but I think you get. I suppose the 16-bit is where you really get the advent of the like boot sector intros. So definitely some traditions around that. So, yeah,
I'm looking forward for Amiga world domination on this compo. I don't think it's gonna happen though, but let's see. Weirder things have happened. Anyways, on to the last question from this section. What is your favorite or most underrated intro in this category? Gaspen, I'll start with you.
Oh, well, it's, I have to admit, as far as the Spectrum goes, I think the 256, it's kind of, it feels like it's not been that well the tried category.
You have to look it up. I'll go for Super Rogue while you look it up.
So, I think on Atari, I think what the agenda guys are doing is quite interesting. So I'll mention two things. For Atari 8-bit, I would say Galactic Bearing from Ilmenit. It was an agenda production, but it didn't finish first, but I think 4th or 5th place. And I thought it was the best at that particular compo, and maybe one of the best productions I've seen that year. And for Spectrum, I like a lot of the stuff that B Fox does, because he does a nice sound code. So I would also mention Reshape by B Fox for the ZX Spectrum.
Okay. Gasman, do you have an entry for us?
Yes, so I've just have my memory jogged. Thinking back to the raw.org entries, and so CPU in particular had some really lovely intros. I'm a big fan of these effects in their sort of full demo form, but the fact that they got these into 256 bytes is I really love. So I think Sunflow was one of them, and trying to remember the other one. It was it's kind of rotating flowers, and it's just Untitled is the imaginatively titled full demo version of that, but that's always been one of my favorites, and seeing that in 256 bytes as well is it's just lovely thing.
Okay, I think that's about it from this pre-show. Do you guys have anything you would like to add about this category? Gasman, Super Rogue? Nope.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to the compo and see what's in store for us.
Okay, let's take a look at the compo entries then.
Okay.
Dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems. Wake up to what's possible with Lovebyte.
nobody tells people who are beginners, and I really wish somebody had told this to me, is that all of us who do creative work, like, we get into it. Like, we get into it, and we get into it because we have good taste. But it's like there's a gap that for the first couple of years that you're making stuff, what you're making isn't so good, okay? It's not that great. It's trying to be good. It has ambition to be good, but it's not quite that good. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, your taste is still killer. And your taste is good enough that you can tell that what you're making